Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax. Except you, that person driving. Sit up and keep your eyes on the road. Your ears, though, can still listen as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm me, Rob. Let's go red.
Yeah, I think it was a good night to be a Giant fan. You know, it's a great feeling to win a ring, don't get me wrong. But the second best thing is to see the Cowboys or the Eagles get this close and not quite be able to pull it off there.
Fall flat on their face.
Oh, yes. Especially when you see an ex-Giant even help them out, which we'll get into later on. But that's a nice little tidbit as well. It's like, if we didn't make that trade, do they win?
Yeah, right?
And now the Eagles drop to an all-time 1-3 in Super Bowls. 1-3. Think about that. It's not that they don't get there. They just don't win when they get there. That's the problem with them. And, you know, from a team that's now 4-1 in the Super Bowl to watch a team go 1-3.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
Choking on those chicken wings.
Oh, yeah. Definitely choking to the big moment there. It looks like not just Donovan McNabb is throwing up in the huddle right now. Everybody is. Oh my God!
Everyone Phillies.
Like, woo. And you know, once again, I don't know if Giant fans are aware on this. The Empire State Building lit up green whenever the Eagles scored. So
gross.
I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I can tell you this: anytime that I'm in New York visiting from here in sunny Florida, I will not be ever going to the Empire State Building ever again. I'm going to encourage everybody else to do the same. They seem to forget where they are. So you know what? Let's pick up the building and bring it all the way to freaking Philadelphia. That's what it will be.
I'll be urinating on the side of the building.
A big building in Philadelphia. Could you imagine them putting like blue lights on the Rocky statue or like...
Right.
You know, setting up like wearing Giants jersey at like Pat's or Geno's? Like what the hell? Seriously, like... It would never happen. Not that anybody actually from Philadelphia actually eats at Pat's or Geno's. They're gonna. I'm waiting for someone to comment saying this guy obviously doesn't know Philadelphia. I know Philadelphia. I actually don't mind Philadelphia. I just hate the Eagles fans. The city's nice if you go to the right spots. Obviously,
I was about to say if you go to the right spots.
Yeah. Some of it actually reeks of urine, but some of it's really nice.
Yeah.
So you know, it's a mixed bag there. So you know. But let's get into the game here a little bit because this is I think to the best of my knowledge the second largest second half comeback in Super Bowl history. I mean, this was like an all-time choke. Like any more choking, they would have been called Monica Lewinsky. It's like that.
Yeah.
It's like...
So it hasn't choked that bad since 1994 or 1996.
Whatever year that was, I don't remember. We were all kids back then.
I was about to say I was a kid.
We weren't supposed to even know what's going on, but we did because you know. It's funny, like they were like, "Oh, I can't talk about this," but then they talk about it.
Yeah,
it was a crazy time to be a kid. So, but yeah, like I said, it's crazy how dominant the Eagles looked in the first half. Because if you think about it, you know they were up by 10 points, and you know it looks on paper like, hey, okay, they were up by 10 points. The game's not close, but it's not out of reach either. But think about it. If it wasn't for that strip sack fumble recovered for a touchdown, then that's a 17-point spread at halftime.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
When it was 24-14 going to halftime, I went, are we really going to have to report on this? Hopefully it hits in my boxes.
Now, we got our first comment here of the night from John S. Anderson Jr. Should have had Foles as a backup quarterback. Might have won. Sad Toney got awarded since he was a pain here for us. And he has a Super Bowl TD and a Super Bowl record now, even if he doesn't play another down. And yeah, that's very true on a lot of accounts because, yeah, I mean, wow. Foles was amazing for them in that Super Bowl, and I don't want to downplay everything that Jalen Hurts did, because if we're being unbiased, which as much as I enjoyed reveling in the moment of the Eagles falling, you guys know I try to be unbiased as best I can in this show here. Jalen Hurts wasn't the problem. He wasn't the problem.
I mean, he had over 300 yards on the day, so like he was definitely moving. He was definitely
broke
rushing.
Touchdown records.
Yeah.
Was
it 3 rushing touchdowns?
The only play that I'm going to say was his fault, and I'll give 2 if you want, but 1.5 really. The big one is that Hail Mary. Like, what did he go, 10 yards? Like, that's got to be the most pathetic Hail Mary I've seen in my entire life. Like, they're all down at the end zone waiting for somebody to go jump for the ball, and it like lands at like the 40-yard line. Like, what the hell? Like, I don't know if it slipped, but woo. But the only other one you can really give it to him as like hey, you messed up, was the fumble. But I try to use the same rule I have for Daniel Jones when he has his mess ups. You're gonna mess up occasionally. One is allowed. If you have multiple, then I'm gonna go, wait a minute, hold on, what's up here? Because there's something wrong. But you have one, it's gonna happen some games. So it's not like he was turnover prone the whole season. He just happened to have a strip sack at a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, they still weren't in a bad spot when that happened. So they weren't. Definitely didn't help their.
I'm not going to blame him.
Yeah, definitely didn't help the cause.
If you want to blame someone, here's who I'm going to blame, and I think it's where rightfully the blame goes, that they lost. And I say blame, but for us, it's congratulations, good job, and that's the coaching staff. Because look at the second half difference. The Chiefs, led by Andy Reid, one of the best coaches of our generation. If you look at Belichick, he's probably number 2. Probably is. The guy's got 2 rings now. The guy's coached for decades. He's been to 4 Super Bowls now. I mean, that's probably the best besides Belichick that there is in football in our generation the last 20 years. He made the adjustments he had to make. Eric Bieniemy, he gave a lot of credit to. I don't know how much of that is him and how much of that is him trying to give credit to a guy who's been trying to get a head coaching job for a decade now. Steve Spagnuolo, our ex-defensive coordinator, made adjustments. Obviously this isn't his first rodeo in a Super Bowl either. So, they made the adjustments they had to make. The Eagles didn't. The Eagles kept doing what they were already doing. And they didn't go, okay, what's working for us? What's not working? What can we do a little different? What can we stop on the Chiefs maybe is working a little bit? And if you look at what the Chiefs did in the second half, they basically did everything they did in the first half, just better on offense. And on defense, they figured a way out.
Yeah, they stopped the run big time in the second half.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They went to it. And I really hope the Giants look at this as a blueprint on how to beat the Eagles going forward, because, they did what I've said you have to do to the Eagles all season, and what I never really saw the Giants doing enough of. If you want to beat them, you have to stop the run, which, granted, we don't have the run stoppers necessary to stop that run, but you have to stop the run. And on offense, if you want to beat them, you have to go ahead and not go after their corners, because they had 2 of the best corners in the league this year. And that's what the Chiefs did. If you look, how many passes were right in the middle? They didn't go for the deep balls, the 9 routes. They went for slants. They went for post patterns. They went for, hook patterns from the tight end. This is what they did. They avoided the 2 guys if you want to avoid on the Eagles defense. It was brilliant. It really was.
Yeah.
And not just because I've been saying it all year.
Yeah, no shame in the game.
Yeah,
Mahomes was good, but he didn't throw for over 200 yards which
no. And
exactly doing what you did.
I got to point this out too, because I keep hearing people talk about it. There's a rumor going around that he tested positive for PEDs after the game. Guys, that's BS. That's somebody on Twitter started that has like a fake account. If you look, the article after that literally talked about how Britt Reiner went bankrupt after paying for her Super Bowl tickets. So that just tells you the people you're working with. Seriously. For some reason, somebody's screenshot has been going around like crazy. I even got a text message about it earlier today. Like, it's not real, guys. He did not get found with any PEDs. To be honest, what he probably did is he probably got all kinds of painkillers shot into his ankle where he didn't even feel the leg at all.
100% was what happened. If you looked up limping off the field in the first half,
Yep.
the comeback out run like that dude wasn't feeling any pain.
He's definitely feeling it today. Trust me on that. But he won't care because he's going to have a nice new ring on that finger soon. So he don't care. He's got a whole year now to go ahead and save up and get back to, back to 100% there. So we got to talk about the other Chief, though, the ex-Giant, Kadarius Toney. As Ray Jones types in here, he was drugged up for sure. Oh, trust me, that man was drugged up like a racehorse going on his third leg. So Kadarius Toney, who obviously in Giant land is like, almost a cuss word. It's almost as bad as saying Gettleman. So it really is. Oh, Ray Jones back with the fastest he ran in his entire career. Yeah, that's because that's the horse drugs that'll do that to you.
Yeah, I don't know who's higher, him or Snoop Dogg.
Oh yeah, but Kadarius Toney though was also pretty dang fast. Imagine this if I told y'all this, that Kadarius Toney would break the Super Bowl record for longest punt return in the Super Bowl, and that he would also touchdown in the Super Bowl. If I told you guys that in the beginning of the year, how many of you guys would have signed up for that in a heartbeat? You just never know how life's going to happen. Football changes all the time, guys. It's the way it is. So
after 17 hamstring injuries, he looked good.
Yeah, apparently the 17th one being fixed was the charm. All of a sudden, he's better. It's amazing.
Or maybe he was on the drugs that Mahomes was on. I don't know.
He's fixed. Yeah. The Super Bowl happens and he's cured.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what was going on because you really didn't, you never really saw him get healthy with them either. And then all of a sudden, the first half, he wasn't in it for much. And then all of a sudden, he popped up out of nowhere and it became a big thing. We got John S. Anderson Jr. He was faking. He was never hurt either time. You don't run like that if you're hurt. And I'm assuming that's Kadarius Toney you're talking about, John. So correct if I'm wrong in that assumption. But yeah, I don't think he was hurt. I think he was. Wait, let me change the wording. Actually, I'm going to say this. He was hurt. He wasn't injured. I don't doubt that he had some level of pain. I doubt whether or not he could have actually gone through with it and played. I think he probably could have. But I think a lot of it was, I don't think he ever got along with it with the Giant staff there. He's saying no, Mahomes. Listen, Mahomes was hurt. Mahomes was hurt. That was a modern medicine. There is what happened there. That's just amazing medical staff that the NFL teams have nowadays. If this game was played 20, 30 years ago, he wouldn't have been back in. Yeah, he wouldn't have been back in. He would have had to pull an Emmitt Smith and play with the broken shoulder. Sheesh, it's weird. We're talking about the Eagles, and I just gave a compliment to a cowboy. Oh, my God.
Yeah,
I need some holy water. I need some holy water. But yeah, I mean, Toney, though, out of nowhere. And it makes me happy, not just that we got something for Toney in the trade, because I still think this was a great trade for the Giants. Like, it wasn't going to work out. Whether it works out for him somewhere else or, whatever, it's a move that had to be made.
Yeah,
we got a good pick out of it, and he just helped them win a Super Bowl against the Eagles. He helped them beat the Eagles. So
it was a double win for us.
Yeah. Ray Jones says, "Someone check on him, Ray. I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I just need some good whiskey, and I'll have that as soon as this is over." So John S. Anderson Jr. must have been Mr. Miyagi back there fixing him. Listen, who knows? Wax on, wax off. Who knows what they got? But I love the reference. I love the reference. Paint the fence.
Yeah. Wax on. Wax off.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, great game. And I got to say, we lucked out, I feel like, in the last 20 years of having some amazing, amazing Super Bowls. I mean, I remember growing up, it was like there was ones that are like the game was over at halftime. We've had so many good Super Bowls lately. I almost feel like we're due for a crappy one. And I don't want to wish that. I love the Super Bowl. I don't care who's playing. I love watching it. I want to be there for the whole thing. I want to watch from beginning, watching Nick Sirianni crying during Chris Stapleton's rendition of Star Spangled Banner, which, by the way, spectacular version. That's probably the best one since Whitney Houston did it, which I think actually was with us in the Bills in Tampa in 1991 there.
You're dating yourself again, man.
Yeah. But no, listen, okay, for those who may be too young to know, look up Whitney Houston Super Bowl Star Spangled Banner. Like, absolutely amazing. And I'm not just saying that because she was a Jersey girl.
Well,
We got to give credit to Jersey
Whitney.
people, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, dead on, like perfect rendition. But this was really good. But I wouldn't have been crying. In fact, I wasn't crying listening to it. I'm a bit perplexed by that. But yeah, so
he popped soon, man. It wasn't like halfway through the song. It wasn't towards the end. Like, it was at the beginning. He just
Chris Stapleton sitting there looking like Cousin It from the Addams Family. He's like, oh, damn. It's like just tears coming down. But yeah, I mean, it was legit. Jones pipes in with national anthem, was freaking solid. I enjoyed it. Listen, I can't tell you people now are saying that Chris Stapleton should probably do the next halftime show because people liked him better than Rihanna. And you know what? I'm gonna side with that because I'm one of those people. You give me a guy with a good, solid voice and a piano or a guitar, and I'll just listen for hours.
I mean, we're here to talk football, but let's talk about that halftime show real fast because
let's talk about that because
I felt like it was about to start playing Super Smash Brothers for all the stage.
Boop 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 boop.
I felt like Mario and Bowser were about to come out between Rihanna and start fighting. Playing Super Smash Brothers.
Ray Jones again. Halftime sucked. Listen, Ray, we're agreeing with you what this sounds like so far because I know Rob is. It sounds like, but I'm definitely agreeing. You know what? And part of what I hated about it was, first off, she wasn't even singing most of the time, and you could tell. You could tell because every so often she would sing a one line, and you can tell the sound difference. Like, I didn't go there for a dance-a-thon. You know, I went there to watch this to go ahead and hear some music, and I want to hear some solid music because there's some people that I haven't necessarily liked the music, like they're like the Weeknd when he played a couple of years ago in Tampa for the Tampa and Chiefs one. I'm not necessarily a big Weeknd fan, but he put on a good show. You know, I mean,
he also got lost in the mirrors.
Bruno Mars fan, he did. I may not be a huge Bruno Mars fan, but the man has talent. You can't take that away no matter what. He's got talent. Exactly.
Yeah, you can respect the talent.
Rihanna, while she has talent, because, I mean, first off, she has a lot of business talent because she, to my understanding, is literally a billionaire off of her music and everything she's invested off the music. So kudos to that because that's not easy. But I wasn't sitting there going, wow, this is a great show. I mean, she's dancing around. She's got, no guest stars coming on whatsoever. Like, I want to see, Missy Elliott pop out randomly like she did against Katy Perry. Like, that's the kind of thing you want to see at a halftime show. And there was none of that. There was no surprise. There was nothing like that, and it just, I don't know. I couldn't get into it whatsoever. As John S. Anderson says, same thing about agreed halftime was terrible, lip sync much. Listen, if we're gonna do lip singing, let's go ahead and get the 500,000 Vanilli that's still around, and let's just go for it and call it what it is, okay? Ray Jones says she was pregnant. She should have stayed home. I'm not sure if that qualifies as a reason to stay home, but whew. Yeah, I can't believe when people are talking more about the fact of was she not pregnant than her actual performance.
Yeah,
that's an issue. That was an issue.
It was trending on Twitter. Was she pregnant or not?
On her body. Yeah, or I don't know if it's too much on us, focused on her body too much for some weird, creepy reason, or if it's just a sign of how bad her show was. But I think the latter, personally, though I'm sure some people do fit in that first category, but. Yeah, it just wasn't a good show. And yeah, Chris Stapleton, go for it next year, dude. Go for it. I want to hear a little Tennessee Whiskey at halftime next time because that man can sing. That man can sing. So now I think let's go ahead and talk about something besides Rihanna because we can go on a rant around.
I was about to say,
Ray Jones even chime in again with another comment. We're let's talk football here. So the big question really comes into be is. Now that the Eagles have choked and they've blown another Super Bowl that they could have won. They blew a halftime lead. They got cut, and I'm pouring tons of salt into it because it just feels so good for me. But it's interesting to look at what's going to happen now to the Eagles this offseason as a Giant fan. Because listen, guys, no matter what happens, we got to face them twice every year. This is an opponent that we have had trouble beating for a decade now.
Just about.
Yeah, it's like them and the Cowboys. It's funny because we hate both teams so much. But if we're being honest, Giant fans, those teams have had our numbers. They've had our numbers. So, we have to figure ways to beat these guys. And I'm interested in what's going to happen with the Eagles this year as a Giant fan, because these guys, first off, they're about to lose both coordinators, potentially to head coaching positions. Rumor has it that that would have been a better show. I would have taken Adele over that. Should have got her out of the stands. I saw her there in the game. But yeah, they have two coordinators they're about to lose because the defensive coordinator rumor is going to Arizona, and even more solid of a rumor, because I'm hearing it by a lot of sources, the offensive coordinator is going to Indianapolis. So first off, that means great that we don't have to lose our coordinators to these places, but it also means this hurts them that much more, because how much of this was Sirianni and how much of it was his coordinators being good? And we're about to find out at that part of it there. Beyond that, as again we're about here, he says, will the Eagles still be the Eagles after this year? A lot of free agent acquisitions showed up for them this year. And yeah, right. You're 100% right. And I got to share also I got to read also John S. Anderson Jr. again with "Cry Eagles Cry," because I just love to hear that. So let's go over real quick the amount of free agents they have coming up this pending off season here, because I'm telling you, this list is insane, and there is no way they can bring back the same team and go for it again, because they don't have a lot of cap space. And on top of that, it's like half their team is a free agent. They can have all the cap space in the world. You can't re-sign all these guys. So Fletcher Cox, who's I feel like he's been playing for the Eagles since 1989.
Pretty much best name in the sport.
Yeah, he's only 32 years old though. 32. I thought he was much older than that. I'm looking at the screen here. That's what it says. Robert Quinn, who they got in a trade, who they basically got jack and shit out of during the entire season and postseason, he's also a free agent. So not a big loss for them, but still, he's the guy who could have replaced one of the other guys who are going to lose. Brandon Graham, again, another guy from the 1980s. He'll be 35 soon. He's also a free agent. Javon Hargrave, free agent. Jason Kelsey, free agent. Does he retire? That's one of the things. And I got to say this. I don't know if people heard this as well. When the game was over, you saw a scene where the two Kell brothers embraced. And you know what they did when that happened?
Talk about Thanksgiving dinner?
Well, that'd be a cool idea. Like, let's talk about Thanksgiving. It's coming up in 10 months.
Yeah. I'll bring you the mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes. So, yeah, no, they talked about the game, and the first response Jason gave to Travis was basically F you. Obviously, he said the word. I don't want to say the word in case there's any little children here. They get bleeped out again. Get taken down off Facebook. Gets a cussing again. Damn Jersey guys. But yeah, so he might retire. We don't know what's going to happen there. You got James Bradbury, who's going to turn 30 before the season starts, and he's a free agent. Then you got Isaac Samalu. We talked about him on the free agency episode, which, by the way, guys, if you hadn't checked that out, check out the episode we're having for potential free agents, because that's going to be coming up soon. It's a good way to catch up on who's going where and everything there as far as who we think we might get. Andre Dillard, free agent. Kazir White, free agent. TJ Edwards, free agent. Another guy we talked about in that episode as well. Yeah. Dominic Sue, free agent. We got Linval Joseph, free agent. Boston Scott, the Giant Killer, free agent. Boston Scott. I think we should sign him just to avoid.
I was about to say he'll be a Giant soon enough.
Yeah, just the 14 points that we give up to him every single year. Maybe that'll help us beat the Eagles if we're not scoring. They're scoring one less touchdown. So Zach Pascal, the wide receiver, Miles Sanders, their running back. That's a big one because their running game is so important. You got Rick Lovato, their long snapper. That's not as big a deal, but whatever. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who is only 25 years old and coming off of leading the NFL interceptions while still being out for a few games. This guy's going to get paid.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And there's no way they're going to be able to afford him because I think he's going to set the market on free agents for free safeties. I really do. Then you got
Jared Wire's going to be his agent.
Show me the money. Who's coming with me? The fish is coming with me. You had me at hello. So I haven't seen the movie in years, and I still remember all those lines. So Gardner Minshew, their backup quarterback, who is probably going to be in line to be potentially a backup, either a starter or a backup / mentor for somebody who drafts one of the many rookie quarterbacks, and Marcus Epps. Think about how many players that is listed, guys. And these aren't
damn near half the roster.
Yeah, these aren't like your fifth string tackle if you sign to a practice squad. This is legit players. This is like legit starters here. These are talented people you count on. So, we got a couple comments here as I was listening to that here down. So we got Ray Jones saying, damn 35. Listen, I'm 40, so yeah, damn 35. Because I'll tell you what, at 35, I was not able to hit a football field and get. I feel like after 30, I started breaking down big time. We got John S. Anderson Jr., 32, 35 is old now. I'm 53. I guess I'm ancient. Yikes. John, we're both ancient. It's okay, man. It's all good. So, John back with Sue would have been a good Giant. Listen, Sue is a talented guy. And he's a guy that may even get some talk about the Hall of Fame. The issue with him always has been that attitude.
I was supposed to say, he's got a terrible attitude.
Yeah, and I don't think that would have flowed in New York, honestly. I think the media in New York would have made him flip on purpose just to sell newspapers, and it would not have gone very well, trust me. See, I'm saying newspapers. Yeah. See, I told you I'm old, John. I told you. So, Ray Jones, we might close that gap in the draft. Yeah, I mean, listen, the Giants have a chance to really surpass them in talent this year because of what they're about to lose. This is not going to be the same Eagle team next year, folks. And
no, not by a long shot.
And I'll say this, though, as well. I hate to give kudos to anybody on the Eagles, but I'm going to try to be unbiased here and say the truth, which is that they probably have one of the best GMs in the game. If there's anybody who can move money around and try to get as many of these guys back, it's Howie. He's a damn good GM. He really is. And I'll even say this to even prove the point. He's probably a better GM than Joe Schoen at this point, because he's got the track record Joe Schoen doesn't have yet. So we'll see how it goes later on. But yeah, he's pretty damn good. Ray Jones, yeah, he worked wonders last year. This is what the guy does. And this is why we keep on saying the salary cap doesn't matter, folks. I don't know how they do it, whether it's voodoo, magic, calling up, Harry Potter to go ahead and do it. I don't know what they're doing here. They went to the school of GM Hogwarts here, but for some reason, there are certain GMs who figure a way around the cap every single year. Look at the Saints. We talked about that a couple episodes ago. They're like $60 million over the cap, like every single offseason. Yet they still sign people. They still keep a lot of their guys. They still figure out a way to do that. So I don't want to sit there and guarantee that they're going to be, a bad roster next year, but they have the
they're going to finagle their
lose
money.
Some people. Yeah, and they're going to definitely lose some guys. Like I mentioned, Gardner Johnson. There's no way they're keeping that guy. He's going to make like $10-15 million a year. Miles Sanders, I can see him going as well because someone's going to pay him because he's proven to be a good running back, and it's not smart to pay running backs. Which, again, sounds weird from a Giant fan. I know we're talking about Barkley all off-season long pretty much. But you don't pay long-term to running backs. It doesn't work out well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be an interesting offseason for them. And as a Giant fan, I always try to keep an eye on not just our offseason, but also the offseason of the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Commanders or whatever their name is that particular year. Whether it's the Washington, D.C. or the Washington State one, thanks to their mugs.
Yeah. The football team.
I'll never forget those mugs. I will never forget their
Yeah.
mugs. Only the Commanders. Only the Commanders would go ahead and rebrand for like the third time this decade and sell coffee cups with a Washington State in the background instead of Washington, D.C. Only the Commanders would do that. Oh, my God.
Yeah, not even Vegas messed that up.
No. The Raiders.
The Raiders.
I don't know why you have to say like Berman every time, but you have to say it like Bourbon every single time. It's a thing. It's got to be done. It's got to get done. So like I said, keep an eye on what's going on there, Giant fans, and we'll keep you guys up to date as well with what's going on here. John S. Anderson here, before we go here, he's got a question. He says, how do you guys feel about Daniel Jones and Saquon? Is it worth keeping them or start fresh or just keep one of them? I don't think either can be traded because their contracts are up. Yeah, you're right. We can't trade them because their contracts are up. Now, what we can do, hypothetically, is you can franchise tag them and trade them. Or do a restricted, not a restricted, there's a second tag. I'm drawing a blank here where you can put it on there where basically they can go get offers. We have a chance to go ahead and, match the offer. And if we don't, we get compensation, which is what we should have done with Leonard Williams a couple of years ago. But no, we didn't because we're stupid.
But what I can see actually happening is I think they're going to negotiate with DJ. He's probably going to get paid somewhere in the ballpark, mid-30s. And then they're going to just tag Barkley. Like, it's not what he wants, but it's a business move. I think
I'll tell you, it's what I want.
Yeah.
I don't want to sign Barkley long term because he's getting to the late 20s now. He is a running back that we know has issues. He's had some major injuries. He didn't look as good the second half of the year. I mean, you have to take these things into account when you pay people. But yeah, Jones we're keeping. There's no doubt about it. And it doesn't even matter at this point, we think, to be very frank, because Joe Shane's already said we're going to keep him.
Yeah.
He's going to be part of the team. And
just like as a business part and just like overall for both parties, it just makes sense to keep him because you know what you got in him. He plays well with the system. The coaches like him. Like for the Giants, this is exactly what they need. And if they need to go out and get someone else in the long term, that's what they're going to do. Daniel Jones already started over 3 times in his career with the same team. Why would he want to go somewhere else to start over again when he just proved himself this year?
Sorry.
Yeah, that was it. That was my right.
Here's the big factor. Here's the big factor for me. It's not how much we're paying them. It's how quick can we drop them. And what I mean by that is I don't care if we're paying $30, $35 million a year to Jones, as long as we can drop him in a year or two if we decide that was a mistake. I don't care if we pay $14 million, something like that, to Barkley, as long as the second he slows down, we can get rid of him because you don't want to pay that long term. You don't want to be in the ballpark that the Cowboys are in, where they're paying Zeke so much money that they lost some guys this offseason. And they may lose some guys this next offseason again if they potentially keep him at that contract. But I think he'll either take a pay cut or be cut personally overall. Ray Jones, I want us to keep them both, but I know we keep DJ over Saquon. DJ would be priority. I want them both, but running backs are a dime a dozen. And I'll say this, Ray, we've talked about this before. They are a dime a dozen, but this is a very shiny dime. A very shiny dime, and a guy that can play and do things that most people in the NFL only dream of doing. That being said, his backups have played good as well. So I don't think it's the biggest loss in the world without him, but I think it helps the team to have him, if that makes sense. You can do without, but it's easier to do with. Wouldn't go Jonas Anderson Jr. wouldn't go over 30 for Daniel or over 12 for Barkley. Ray Jones, Saquon is a crazy talent, but we did it by committee, and plenty of teams do that now as well. John S. Anderson Jr., you can get Jones cheap. He doesn't want to go to. I got to say this. I will agree and disagree at the same time. I don't think he wants to go anywhere. But if you tell me the Giants tell him $20 million and he thinks he's worth $30 million, you think he just signs the line, doesn't go to Carolina or someplace like that? It's not going to happen.
I mean,
not going to happen. And then,
listen, the football team, or whatever you want to call them, they'll pay him $35 million just to keep him, get him out from us.
As Ray Jones chimes in with 35 is mid-tier for quarterbacks nowadays, and that's exactly right. We're going to probably, I think personally, the first year we're going to pay him more like 30, and you're going to see the numbers go up, but I think it's going to be more like 30. But I could be wrong as well. It depends on what he wants and what Joe Shane's comfortable with. If Jones had more yards and touchdowns, yes, 35, okay, but he hasn't done that yet. And that's the problem, John. We've talked about this ad nauseam. That's the problem. We don't know what we have in Jones still. We don't know. And
maybe he's number one receiver this year. Like, of course, he didn't put that many yards up for touchdowns.
Yeah. So I'll say this, guys, though. We're going to do the review on all the positions coming up. Not this week. We're probably starting next week. We have some pretty good people signed up already to help with that. And we have a very, very special guest that's going to talk specifically with quarterbacks with us here as well, too. Trust me, this is a guy that when we talk with him, you're going to go, okay, I know that guy. Because he's that well known. Not to toot our horn here of getting a pretty good guest, but I'm tooting our horn here a little bit.
Toot toot.
So keep an eye out for that stuff as well. So later on this week, to give you guys the rundown of what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and do two things here. We're going to first do our rookie review episode coming up here in a couple days. What we're going to do is twofold on this. We're going to talk about the rookies and how they did. But we're also going to talk about if we could redraft, who would we take at that position? Because I think that's an interesting spin. We've been talking about these guys all year long. You guys know, if you've been watching the shows, what we think of these guys. So we're going to give you the quick rundown on what we think. We're also going to talk about if we could draft again, who would we have taken? Like, would we have taken Evan Neal again at 7? Are we taking a wide receiver? There's a lot of questions here at this point that you could, now that we have the information as far as what they are, some of these rookies, would you still do it? So I want to kind of go over that with you guys. We're also going to go ahead and have our second mock draft here coming up later this week as well. So we did one here for you guys with a way too early mock draft while the season was still going. We're going to go ahead and do the first one here pre-free agency. I want to kind of see how that fits based on what we do there and what we do in free agency and see how right or wrong we were. And then, like I said, starting next week, we're going to hope to have that. So, as always, we will try to have the shows for you guys Monday night, Wednesday night, and Friday night. So keep it on your calendars. If you have paper calendars, if you're old like me and John.
It's messed up, John. You're old.
Yeah. Put it in my PDA and my BlackBerry.
Yeah.
I remember the BlackBerry days. But yeah, like I said, that's the plan, is pretty much always have that for you guys pretty much all off season long. We don't want to be one of those shows that kind of disappears, because there's plenty of things to talk about. Even when the really slow time parts come out, we were actually talking about doing a Where Are They Now, talking about guys that were drafted from the Giants year by year, and give you guys the rundown of what they did and where they are now. So, like I said, we have ideas for this whole off season. We're going to keep on pumping out information for you guys here. He said, John goes, "Hey, be nice. You'll be old soon enough." Dude, I'm already old. Don't you worry, man. I'm 40-year-old with a 20-year-old brain and an 80-year-old body. Don't you worry. I just got up out of this chair and the thing starts creaking like you wouldn't believe. And it's not the chair. It's my knees, my back, my ankles.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so trust me, I'm feeling it. I feel like I did play football for 20 years instead of, a couple of years starting left bench in high school, and that's it. So, but yeah, guys, again, we appreciate you guys listening in to everything here. We know you guys have choices on where you get your news from. We do appreciate you taking the time to listen to what these two goofballs here have to say. As always, we are live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We will later on be available on Podcast Land on pretty much every podcast app you can think of. And of course, if you didn't get a chance to watch the video live, it will be available on those social media platforms as well later on. And keep an eye out, because we're going to be eventually adding on more different methods of watching the show live as well. So keep an eye out for all that stuff, and we'll announce that stuff as it comes down as well. So like I said, thank you very much, guys, for listening. If you like the show, do go ahead and hit the like, hit the subscribe, no matter what kind of platform or app you're on, and then go on to the next one that we're on and repeat the process, because that what makes us happy. It puts smiles on our face. I mean, we have pretty smiles. We do. We have pretty. Look at that pretty smile. So I think we just got that. Okay. So guys, again, appreciate you guys taking the time. And as always, Giant fans, go G-Men!
G-Man.
Go G-Men!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support. If you made it this long, you must have enjoyed it. So I am sure you have followed us on all the social media platforms. Of course, you have subscribed to the show on your favorite app as well and given us a top rating. Right? Right? Right?